Tonight, CBS News correspondent David Martin on assignment for 60 Minutes.
I have never seen the like. That's what a helicopter pilot who had watched a 21-year-old Marine stave off a Taliban ambush that threatened to overrun his unit told us. The Marine was Dakota Meyer, a Kentucky farm boy who just this past Thursday received the nation's highest military award, the Medal of Honor, from President Obama at the White House. Meyer was on a mission in the Ganjgal Valley of Afghanistan, where he repeatedly ran a gauntlet of enemy fire in a desperate effort to save his fellow Marines. Dakota Meyer will tell that story tonight, but there is much more to it than his almost insane bravery. This was an operation which went terribly wrong, so wrong that 2 Army officers were issued career-ending letters of reprimand. It's a story as old as combat. When a warrior's leaders let him down, he has nothing to fall back on but his own courage. Dakota Meyer will tell you he was just doing his job. But when you see and hear what he did, you too may say, I have never seen the like.
The story will continue in a moment.
Dakota Meyer grew up shooting game on this farm in Greensburg, Kentucky, and can hit a squirrel at 750 yards. But it wasn't his marksmanship that earned him the Medal of Honor. It was his astonishing courage.
Did you think you were going to die?
I didn't think I was going to die. I knew I was.
You knew you were going to die?
I knew I was going to die.
The battle took place in this remote valley deep in enemy territory in the mountains of eastern Afghanistan. Meyer ran a gauntlet of fire not once but 5 times, with insurgents shooting down on him from 3 sides.
So why are you going in there?
There was U.S. troops getting shot at, and those are your brothers.
4 Marines were trapped in the village of Ganjgal after a patrol of 9 Americans, both Marines and Army soldiers, and 45 Afghan military was ambushed. Afterwards, the Army Center for Lessons Learned produced this animated recreation of what happened. The patrol set out for what was supposed to be a friendly meeting with village elders. Rocky terrain forced them to get out of their armored vehicles and move in on foot.
They're walking up toward the village. What happens next?
Right at daylight, they open fire on them. The enemy starts raining down. They had mortars, rockets, rocket-propelled grenades, and small arms fire.
They were waiting for you.
They were.
This was an ambush.
Oh, it was. We were set up.
With an estimated 100 to 150 enemy fighters dug in on the high ground above them, the Marines called for artillery fire from a nearby base. The first rounds missed, so First Lieutenant Michael Johnson, one of the 4 Marines trapped inside the village, radioed new coordinates of the enemy positions. But the commanders in the operations center back at the base refused to fire.
They denied it. The Army denied it and told him it was too close to the village. And he said, too close to the village. And the last words I heard him say was, if you don't give me these rounds right now, I'm going to die.
Did he get the artillery fire?
No, he didn't. The response was basically, try your best.
An investigation conducted after the battle determined that 2 Army officers making those decisions in the operations center that day were clearly negligent. The actions of key leaders in the command center, the report said, were inadequate and ineffective, contributing directly to the loss of life which ensued. Because of what the report calls poor performance in an atmosphere of complacency, the operations center just did not realize how bad the situation was until it was too late.
You can't sugarcoat it.
Now retired, Colonel Richard Hooker conducted that investigation.
The 2 principal officers that were named in the investigation failed to discharge their duties in a responsible way, in a way that the Army and the country has a right to expect them to behave.
Among the findings, 2 Kiowa helicopters armed with rockets and machine guns were minutes away from Ganjgal, but never made it into the battle.
They were on another mission, but they were close at hand.
How far away in terms of minutes?
I would estimate 5 to 10 minutes flight time.
Those helicopters actually broke away from that other mission and headed toward Ganjgal, but were recalled because the request had not gone through proper channels. The troops under fire didn't know that. They were told the helicopters would be there in 15 minutes.
Up to this point, it's been 15 minutes and no air support yet. So they requested again, and they said 15 more minutes.
So 15, now you're at 30 minutes on air.
At 30 minutes, and I'm hearing the radio traffic, and now it's starting to get worse. Gunny Kinnifick, I believe it was, come across the radio and said, "I can't shoot back because I'm pinned down. They're shooting at me from the house, and it's so close."
Gunnery Sergeant Aaron Kennefick was one of the 4 trapped Marines.
It's 15 minutes are starting to add up.
They are, yeah. We're at almost 45 minutes, no air support. I believe that the enemy started seeing, well, they're not getting what they need. Let's take advantage of this opportunity.
Dakota Meyer, one of the youngest, lowest-ranking Marines on the battlefield, took charge.
We had to do something, and we requested to bring a truck in. We were told no. All your guys are in there getting lit up, and you want to be in there helping them. And we waited about 5 minutes maybe, and we requested again. We were told no. So we requested again about 2 minutes later, and we were told no again. So I looked at Staff Sergeant Rodriguez Chavez and I said, "We're going in."
Staff Sergeant Juan Rodriguez Chavez, who had received the Navy Cross, the nation's second highest honor, drove an armored truck toward the village, while Meyer manned the gun turret.
It felt like the whole valley turned on this truck.
You were it.
It was like, we're it. Like, here comes the big target. The enemy was just, they were just running right at you, at the truck.
So this is not just raining fire down. Now they're trying to swarm the truck?
It's just like a killing fest for them, I think.
How close were rounds coming to you when you were doing this?
The rounds were hitting the turret, and I just kept moving back left and right, left and right. There was so much fire, it sounded like static over top of your head. I was just waiting for one of those rounds to hit me in the face.
How close is the enemy getting to you?
15, 20 meters.
Close.
Yep.
As depicted in the Army animation, dead and wounded Afghan soldiers who had been part of the patrol lay scattered along the valley floor.
I would run and try to assist as many Afghans as I could.
So you get out of the truck.
I'm out of the truck on foot.
So you're out in the open in the killing zone.
I am.
Meyer and Rodriguez Chavez would drive the dead and wounded out of the valley and come back to run the gauntlet of fire again and again, still trying to get to the 4 Marines trapped in the village.
You either get them out alive or you die trying. If you didn't die trying, you didn't try hard enough.
When the Marines' radios fell silent, Army Captain Will Swenson, who was pinned down just outside the village, took up the call for fire.
Captain Swenson probably made 9 or 10 different calls for fire before he probably gave up in frustration.
Does he say, "Look, I'm not kidding, I really need this fire"?
Yeah, the evidence says he was very, very insistent in his calls for help. No question about that.
How long after the battle begins do the first helicopters show up?
It was probably an hour and 45 minutes before the first helicopters come on station.
Helicopters were finally overhead as Dakota Meyer tried to blast his way through the valley to the stranded Marines.
We interviewed a number of pilots who were there that day, and several of them stopped in mid-sentence, unable to finish their description of Meyer's actions that day. They just didn't have the words to describe it.
When the helicopters showed up, did that put an end to the ambush?
No, it didn't solve the problem, but it certainly was a great help to the soldiers and Marines and Afghans that were fighting on the ground, enabled them to move about the battlefield a little better.
With Marine Lieutenant Adamola Fabayo, who would also receive the Navy Cross, manning the machine gun, Swenson and Meyer drove deeper into the valley.
Me and Captain Swenson kept driving this unarmored truck to this valley, and rounds are going everywhere through it.
They're going through?
Like, you got both windows down. You could hear them coming, whizzing through.
A helicopter finally spotted the 4 Marines, but there was too much gunfire to land.
Well, they started to try to land, and they couldn't. They were going to get shot down. So I just took off running. And it was probably the longest run of my life. I felt like I couldn't move fast enough because it's wide open. Rounds are hitting everywhere around me. I jumped into this trench. And when I did, I landed on Gunnery Sergeant Johnson.
And he was...
He was dead.
They were all dead. First Lieutenant Michael Johnson, Sergeant Edwin Johnson, Sergeant Aaron Kennefick, and Corpsman James Doc Layton. It was now 6 hours into the battle that would also take the lives of 8 Afghan soldiers.
If we had gotten supporting aviation on station early in the fight, we wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation. That's my firm belief.
Would those Americans be alive today?
Yeah, you can't say with any certainty, but the chances are, in my opinion, yes, they would have been.
So you've just spent the last 6 hours risking, which is not the right word, your life, throwing away your life to try to get to those guys.
Yeah.
And they're dead.
You know, you feel nothing but like being a failure, you know?
That you couldn't get to them in time.
Yeah.
You realize that what you did was extraordinary?
No, I don't. It would have been extraordinary if I'd have brought him out alive. That would have been extraordinary.
He retrieved my son's body and
Susan Price is the mother of Aaron Kennefick. Several months after she buried her son, she received a copy of Hooker's investigation, known in military parlance as a 15-6.
when I read the 15-6 for the very first time, it actually put me in the hospital for a week.
Price and Charlene Westbrook, whose husband was grievously wounded on another part of the battlefield, have spent thousands of dollars of their own money campaigning to draw attention to what happened at Ganjgal.
We both lost a huge part of our hearts to this mission that was clearly caused by negligence.
Sergeant Kenneth Westbrook died at Walter Reed Hospital, but lived long enough to tell his wife what happened.
He told me that we were surrounded, we were ambushed, and we called for help. No one came. They kept telling us 15 minutes, and no one showed. And we were just sitting ducks.
As recommended by the investigation, letters of reprimand were issued to the captain who was in charge of the watch in the operations center and to the major who was absent from the center at critical points. The Army has not released their names.
How do you equate a piece of paper, a reprimand, to human life?
These letters of reprimand are just clearly slaps on the wrists. These officers need to be court-martialed.
What would you say to them?
I think to be the object of an official investigation which results in a general officer letter of reprimand and end your career for most professional officers is about the most profound kind of thing that can happen to you. It means professional disgrace and ruin.
Susan Price and Charlene Westbrook were not at the White House on Thursday to see the President award Dakota Meyer the Medal of Honor. Will Swenson, who quit the Army, was. He, too, was recommended for the Medal of Honor. But as if there weren't enough negligence to tarnish this battle, the paperwork got lost and had to be started all over again. As for Ganjgal, it still belongs to the Taliban.
It's been 2 years since that operation. And it's still not safe to go into Ganjgal.
It's not.
For all that loss of life, for all your courage, what was gained?
Nothing. Nothing, but at the end of the day, we still did our job. We were still fighting.
Go to 60minutesovertime.com to learn why 2 Medal of Honor recipients refused to call themselves American heroes. Sponsored by Pfizer.